ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Namaste, my dear friends. I am making this video on the secrets of Arunachala. Bhagwan Sri Ramana Maharshi praised Arunachala so much that he was attracted to Arunachala to the extent that Arunachala was his life. Arunachala was his guru. Arunachala was his preceptor. He did not leave Arunachala even for a minute after he arrived in Tiruvannamalai at the age of 16. So let us see the secrets of Arunachala. That is the holy place of all. Arunachala is the most sacred. It is the heart of the world. Know it to be the secret and sacred heart center of Shiva. In that place he always abides as the glorious Aruna hill. This is the saying of Skanda Purana. What is the mountain path? The mountain is Arunachala, and there are two paths, one to the summit and the other around the base. Arunachala shines as Paramatma, the Supreme Self made manifest and Self of all creatures. Not only man but gods and heavenly beings. The same Self was Bhagwan Ramana, who declared, Arunachala is myself. This implies that he, being the Self, is not any of the three bodies, gross, subtle, or causal, pertaining to the three states of waking, dream, and deep sleep, but is the self-aware witness of all three. In that supreme state, he is the screen on which the cinema show of name and form is projected. He is also the light by which it is revealed, and the person who sees it, he is Arunachala, the Self of all. We have seen him here on earth as Bhagwan Sri Ramana Maharshi, the great path maker. In the days when he lived in a cave on the hill, we used to climb only to where he was, Veru Paksha Kava, or the mango grove, or Sakandasram, whichever it was, for he was both the path and the goal, and there was no other happiness comparable to being with him and absorbing the radiance of grace that flowed forth from him. On the path to the summit, starting from the northern Gopuram or tower of the great temple, or from a small village opposite the hospital at the southeast of the hill, the first landmark is Guhae Nam Shivaya Cave, the abode of the famous Guru, who had an even more famous disciple also called Nama Shivaya. This disciple he sent to Chidambaram to found his own center. There, disciple became known as Guru Nama Shivaya, while his Guru was called Guhai Nama Shivaya. Proceeding further, we come to Virupaksha cave, which was already famous before Sri Ramana sanctified by his abode. It is named after the great master Virupaksha, who lived there and who is said on death to have converted his body into a Vibhuti Lingam, a lingam of sacred ashes. There is a small shrine to him there. The cave is said to be in the form of Om, and it is said that sitting silent in it on hear the sound of Om. Just above Virupaksha cave is Skandasram, a more spacious cave where Bhagwan moved after leaving Virupaksha. It was here that an ashram first grew up around him, with food being cooked and his mother presiding. The cave was built out to enlarge it. A spring was released, which since then has proved a perennial supply of water. Even a few trees were planted. The ashram now maintains Sankandashram and keeps a caretaker there, and it is one of the places that devotees must visit. Higher up, the path curves round to the east slope, and directly below the main peak are the 7 springs in small crevices of a huge rock, with their perennial storage of cool water even in the hottest weather. Just above them is a mound of builders at the entrance to a deep cool cave. Bhagwan often sat there with his devotees. Saints and rishis have lived there in past. From here up to the main peak is a steep climb, and indeed may take as long as the whole climb from Virupaksha to the 7 springs. At last we reach the summit, where is a large flat stone with enormous rock cut fit on it. It is here that the huge cauldron is placed every year at the festival of Kartikeya, about when a beacon of ghee, clarified butter brought by devotees, is lit, visible far around. What is the significance of the feet? How obviously they are the feet of Arunachala. You go to the top and you find they are the feet. Because in Arunachala, the Supreme, there is neither top nor bottom, there are no parts, there is just wholeness. Also, because what is highest in the principle is lowest in manifestation. The first is last and the last first. On the northern slope, far from the past, is the place where Aruna Griswara, the great Siddha Purusha, the spirit of Arunachala, abides under an enormous banyan tree. And it should be mentioned that it is this says God in the form of Arunachala, who is worshipped in the great temple in Tiruvannamalai. There is an ancient legend that anyone who can find his way to this eternal sage or spirit in his almost inaccessible abode will receive realization. Only Sri Ramana succeeded in doing so, and he already had a realization. Can one see in it a symbol of the direct path of self-enquiry, which had been withdrawn from use in our spiritually dark age, and which Bhagwan Sri Ramana brought down from its inaccessible retreat to his ashram at the foot of the hill, making it accessible to all, so that none now need to seek the ancient Siddha Purusha. Bhagwan used to say that there were many paths to the peak. Indeed, he would scramble up to it from Skandasram, often following no path at all, and be drawn again in less than an hour's time. He used to speak also of caves in the hill and of siddhas or sages with supernatural powers who lived there. There are legends of cities and gardens within the hill and of great souls sitting in perpetual tapas seeking to attain the conscious identity with Lord Arunachala, which is of Bhagwan's natural and permanent state. When someone asked him once whether all that does not exist only in the mind, he waved his hand around to indicate the physical phenomenal world of everyday existence and said, so does this. Strangely enough, more emphasis is laid on the path around the hill. Bhagwan always took an interest and looked pleased when devotees took this path, making pradakshina. It is called. He would often ask what time they started, how long it took, at what places they rested by the way. Recently, Major Taneja, a devotee from the Punjab who came here first in Bhagwan's lifetime, had been making pradakshina night after night and intended next day to climb to the peak, but that night he dreamed that he was standing facing the hill and a voice came forth from it saying, "Boy, should you go to the top? My fire is at the base." The 8-mile walk around the hill going from east to west, that is to say, keeping the hill always on one's right, is a pilgrimage and is supposed to be made barefoot and at a slow pace in a state of remembrance or meditation. It is said that whatever one wishes or prays for during the pradakshina is fulfilled, but it is also said that it is better not to wish, for this is a path to the desirelessness of the self, and every wish or prayer, however noble it may seem to one, is an affirmation of the limited pseudo self who wishes, and thereby an obstacle to the realization of the desireless self. Pradakshina is often made at night, especially when the moon is full or nearly full, because for a large part of the year it is uncomfortable hot to go round the day. Most devotees start from the ashram nowadays silently seeking Bhagwan's grace before starting. According to the old Brahmin tradition, however, a Brahmin would start out after bathing in the Indra Tirtha or tank on the eastern side of the town. From there he would proceed to the gates of the great temple, prostrate there and walk slowly on, meditating on the Lord Arunachala. Starting from the ashram also, one is expected to pass through the temple from one great gate to another, but on the way back the 8 directions of space on the way round are marked by a monolithic stylized sacred bull, a tank, and a Sivalingam. Sri Ramanasram is at the southernmost point beside the Mantapam or diminutive chapel of Dakshinamurti. In Hindu mythology Dakshinamurti, and one interpretation of the name is the southward facing is Shiva manifested as a youth surrounded by elderly disciples and teaching them in silence. The Guru is the North Pole and therefore traditionally faces south. Bhagwan was often equated with Dakshinamurti. Due west is the sacred tank and lingam of Arunachala, that is to say, of Uma, the consort of Shiva, who came down on earth to make tapas on Arunachala. The tapas was guided by the Rishi Gautama, whose ashram is just beside her tank. The myth is that Uma once in sport put her hands over the eyes of Shiva, thus closing them, and this plunged the whole universe into unseasonable parlaya or dissolution, since all exist only in his sight. In penance for this, she had to descend and undergo austerities on Arunachala before again being taken back as an integral part of Shiva. These old myths are not always easy to interpret. According to Hindu teaching, a phase of manifestation of the universe is succeeded by a phase of dissolution when all is gathered back into undifferentiated uniformity. Uma, the consort of Shiva, knows also by other names such as Durga, Parvati or Kali according to the role she has to play, signifies the divine energy or word. It is this which creates, but also since all creation contains within itself the seed of destruction, all growth of decay, all birth of death, it is she also who destroys and brings on the parlaya. During the parlaya, the divine energy is no longer manifest, no longer the consort of Shiva, but undergoing purification for a new cycle of manifestation. After completing her tapas, it is said that Uma went round Arunachala on the full moon night of the month of Kartikeya and was reassumed by Shiva, and it is in memoration of this that the beacon is now lit on the mountain peak every year at this date. After completing her tapas, it is said that Uma went round Arunachala on the full moon night of the month of Kartikeya and was reassumed by Shiva, and it is in commemoration of this that the beacon is now lit on the mountain peak every year at this date. In the course of her tapas, Uma had to fight and slay the demon Mahishasura who attacked her. This she did in her aspect of Durga. This fight with the force of evil is commemorated by Khadga, tank and Papasna lingam beside it, that is by the lingam that destroys sins. A figure of Mother Durga standing in victory over the head of the vanquished Mahishasura is to be seen in her temple next to Pavala Kundru. This place is very popular among those who have boons to be granted. At this Pavala Kundru also Bhagwan resided for a while as a young man, and there is a Sri Chakra in the Durga temple which he held in his hand during a consecration in the temple. Further round the hill than Gautmasram and the tank of Mother Uma is the ancient village of Adhyamnai. Here is a beautiful and sacred old temple. People walking round the hill often go and worship there. Here is the temple of Sri Manika Vachagar, author of the Tiruvachakam, one of the most ecstatic of the Tamil poets saints. Coming round to the east side of the hill, we come to the temple and shrine of a much more modern Swami, that is Isana Desika Swami, who lived about the 18th century. He was a saint of great power who is said to have had Astma Siddhi, waiting to do his bidding. He is said to be very benevolent and to bestow his grace not only on Hindus but on Muslims and Westerners also who pray at his shrine. The path round Arunachala is very sacred as one sees the many varied aspects of the hill on going round. One finds that the hill itself is a Sri Chakra, a sacred wheel. There is scarcely a day or a night without someone going round. Some devotees go on a fixed day every week, some every full moon, some for a regular cycle of 40 consecutive days, some indeed every day. Of course, there are particularly auspicious occasions for Pradakshina, the most outstanding of these being Shivratri, the night of Shiva, and Kartikeya, the night when the beacon is lighted on top of the hill, holy in itself. The path is made more holy still by all the great saints and rishis who have trodden it, even by Mother Uma herself, and in recent times by Bhagwan Sri Ramana Maharshi, who, as long as health and vigor listed, often went round, sometimes alone, sometimes with a whole body of devotees. It is said that the pilgrim is accompanied by an invisible host of devas and rishis. This outwardly, inwardly, the mountain path is the path laid down for us by Bhagwan Sri Ramana Maharshi, the path of self-inquiry, the path leading to the experience I am the Atma. I am not the experience, I am the Atma, I am not the perishable body. How is this experience to be come by? By the grace of the Guru. So the Guru is both the way and the goal. Arunachala is open to all on whom its grace has descended and is the same as Ramanachala. May Sri Ramana Arunachala cut the note of our primal ignorance and lead us by his path to our final. So dear friends, this was the secrets of Arunachala. So thank you for watching this video. Please share, comment and like the video and subscribe my channel. Thank you my dear friend. Namaskar. Namaskar.